Volpartij 92, 92 volpartij.
Nou, ik weet niet wat ik zei.
Dat wacht hè?
Ja.
weg nu. Ja, maar, 142. 142. En 95 lost het. Valpartij Moto 3, Valpartij Moto 3, Valpartij Moto 3. Nummer 24, nummer 135, nummer 147. Nummer 24 van Lotto. Fred van Moen.
staan, ja.
Pak me meer.
Rustig, ja. Stoppen, ja.
takken dan, want ik krijg ze met mijn gezicht. Au.
12, de 123, de nummer, andere links weer van de voet aan het vierde. 30. 120.
Come on, you lot, Tom. Come on.
Just inside 77 kilometres to go for the group of riders. The peloton are working well. We've just seen that crash and a number of riders hitting the deck and just trying to work their way back into the peloton now. So we'll take a look at the weather conditions for you here. We're expecting winds from the northeast of around about 16 kilometres an hour. It's not going to be too significant this afternoon. There is the famous Antwerp port hub. Right down there, the port house, which is that real mix, isn't it, between the old and new, which was designed by the Zaha Hadid architects. An architectural masterpiece really down there in the Antwerp port. And it really does befit a port such as Antwerp. There's the Palmares, there's the previous winners. Last year, of course, was won by Mathieu van der Poel. The year before by his teammate Gianni Vermeersch. Amy de Gent there and Guillaume van Keersbroek, the first winner. He won solo when he took that great victory ahead of Axel Nemela and a rider that we've come to really know a little bit, Taco van der Hoorn. Let's take a look then back at the presentation earlier on today, just before the race start. The teams being presented on the stage before we got race underway. "17 teams taking to today's race. This is the team being presented, the Minerva cycling team, which has got a team director of Preben van Hekke. Lots of interest in this Baloise Trek Alliance squad with Thibaut Nice, predominantly, of course, there he is, Thibaut Nice, the son of Sven Nice, predominantly a cyclocross squad, wearing, interestingly, rider number 51 today. And a warm day for the riders. The sun is definitely out. Making their way onto the stage, the Sport Vlaanderen Baloise squad. Interviews there for the race start. Their team director is Walter Plankert, one of the famous names in Belgian cycling. Sport Vlaanderen, as always, a development team that ride the biggest races. They get some great invites as a UCI Pro team, but they have no more ambition other than to bring Belgian riders into the sport, help them develop, and then bring Belgian riders at the end of their careers out of the sport. This is the Bingoal team, the Pals Sausen WB squad. Tom Vertgen is in the team, but Timothy Dupont is also in the squad, a rider who finished third in 2019. Well, the interview's going on, getting the thoughts of all the riders before they got underway. 118 starters in today's race. Can Timothy DuPont produce a race-winning performance this time? That's Tom Vertgen wearing number 31. Number 32 will be... sorry, that is Timothy DuPont wearing number 31. This is the Lotto Soudal team. Lotto Soudal with Brent Van Moor. There he is. A rider who could win today. This could suit him very nicely. Also in the squad, Cedric Buelens, Arnaud Delis, Sebastian Greenard, Florian Vermeesch. Florian Vermeesch, who's a strong rider on this sort of terrain. We know that from the Paris-Roubaix. And the Australian rider, Harry Sweeney. Great to see him making his way back into competition. One of the two World Tour teams, Intermarché Wanty Gobert. Team made up today of Dimitri Claes, Tom de Vrent, Andrea Pascalon, Adrien Petit, Gerben Thiessen, Corny van Kessel and Boy van Poppel. 7 riders in the Alpecin Fenix squad. A team that could win today. Team made up Gianni Vermeesch, Samuel Gaze, Timo Kielich, Guillaume van Kiersbroek, Niels van den Putter, Joran Verschuren and Toon van den Bosch. Strong squad in the Alpecin Fenix team for this year's race. This is part of the Exterio Cycling Cup, which is a season-long competition. And the sort of race that this is, it's a little bit like the Paris Tour now, or Strade Bianche, or Trobro Leon, in that we have cobbled sectors and we also have unpaved roads as well. This is the current standings in the Exterio Cycling Cup. Hugo Hofstetter, after his win in the Trobro Leon, is the top of the standings with 40 points. Then it's Arnaud Delis, Dries de Bont, Gerben Thiessen. They're in 4th place. Let's take a look then at today's course. The riders riding out of the Antwerp port as always, making their way towards a number of different sectors, which include both cobbled and unpaved roads. There are 19 different sectors in total, the longest cobbled sector being at 1.74 kilometres in length, and the longest unpaved sector at 2,400 metres, 2.4 kilometres. Total race distance just a touch under 182 kilometres, but we'll give it 182 kilometres in total. And here we go live with the riders in the front group. 6 riders in the break. And these are the riders who make up that group who have been on the attack all day today. So let's take a look at them. Number 32, Milan Mentek, who's from the Bingoal team. He's on the right-hand side in that yellow-coloured kit. Number 46 there, Jens Reinders from the Sport of Vlaanderen team. We've also got in the group number 73, and that is Sven Berger of the Beat Cycling team. Number 125 is in here as well. That's Stein Siemens of the Gifco Dolcini Material Velo.com squad. We've also got in the front group number 155, Jakob Relays of the Tartaletto Icerex team, another cyclocross squad. And number 165, probably the best known rider in here, Bert-Jan Lindemann, rides for the Volker Wessels cycling team. Couple of riders here, maybe trying to make their way across to the front group. It is a 2-rider chaser group. They just attacked off the front, try and get themselves across to that leading group. We're just going through the feed. making our way up towards our next major sector with 70.8 kilometers of racing now remaining on today's race. So we're about to make our way onto a cobbled sector, and this is, we've just hit it now, 200 meters of cobbles. This is Contesjerp, where the riders are on now. So we're going to count our way all the way through these different sectors, all the way into the race finish. A little bit of an acceleration then at the front for the rider who rides for the Sport Vlaanderen team. And rumbling our way onto this sector. A little bit of a move here from this group. Look like they're getting a little bit of an advantage. The riders then in the race will have 28mm tyres on predominantly. They'll ride lower pressure. Some of the riders will be riding on tubeless tyres as well. This is 1,315 metres in length. This particular sector. And from the helicopter you can just see how warm it is this afternoon. So zone 11 of these various cobbled and unpaved roads. Such a wonderful race this Antwerp Port Epic. Thought up as a split of different races when in 2018 it was decided, right, let's leave one race as it is. Let's have another race which has become the Antwerp Port Epic. So the Charles Schell's race, which goes on also during the season. And it really has given us something a little bit different to watch this particular part of the season. It is a great race to get involved in. I've enjoyed watching all the races since 2018. Being on site to watch Guillaume van Keersbroek on the attack solo to win the first ever race that we saw. So just seeing one rider go clear. That looks a little bit like the style of Toon van den Bosch. And one rider at the front getting a little bit annoyed. Oh, a crash now. A couple of riders have hit the deck. And that looked like maybe someone hit the curb there at the side. So certainly down is Jordi Boots of the Beat cycling team. Some riders a little bit shaken here. Jordi Boots has just decided to have a sit down. Sometimes it can be much better to be up towards the front like this. Just stay out of any trouble. Don't get involved in what goes on behind. This is Roel van Sint-Markstijk. And another crash there. Oh, I don't know what happened there between these riders. Wow, the front group of riders has been smashed to smithereens here. A big touch of wheels. Car just behind them. And two riders have crashed out of the front group. Well, you don't often see that, do you? That's incredible. A little bit of tiredness starting to sneak in to the groups. So we end up with this front group of riders now. 4 riders continue. Still on the ground, that rider in yellow. .7.5 kilometers to go. don't remember the last time I saw that in a front group of riders in a race. Normally everything is a little bit calm. That's pretty incredible that that happened. So the pace is certainly up. The back of the peloton. Timothy Dupont quite happy just to be sitting in the wheels. Doesn't seem too bothered at the moment, does he? Just sitting in there, quite happy, rolling along. What's going to happen with this front group? Probably now with that little bit of a crash in there, the impetus will probably go out of that leading group. The riders just stretching things a little now. Here's the head of the race. So here's our 4 riders as we make our way onto this next sector. This is Origa's boss. This little section, 480 meters of cobbles. A little bit of a cycle path coming up after this as well. Peloton chasing hard. Little bits of moves going on at the front as they sense that this is getting into the critical section. And Lotto Soudal getting involved. Lotto Soudal pushing on now, a couple of riders at the front. This team is strong though, isn't it? With Brent Van Moor, Cedric Boulens, Arnaud Delis, Sebastian Greenards, Florian Vermeesch, Harry Sweeney in that team. Putting on the pressure. This is a big move now by Lotto Soudal. The front group of riders having had that crash, 51 seconds. The gap is diminishing and it's diminishing fast. Bit of an opportunity for riders to just take on a little bit of drink after they come off that cobbled sector. There's going to be no let up in the action now, all the way to the race finish. There's a chance to take a look at number 47. That's Ward Van Hoof, who just led off that section there. As we come off, you can see the soigneurs at the side of the road. They've got the bottles out ready, some drinks ready. Here and there will be mechanics and helpers from the team with spare wheels, just to help out with the riders if they have any punctures or any issues. More accelerations off the front. Riders trying to go clear. A little bit of a turn with 64 kilometres to go now. So fast, isn't it? You're just watching the riders swoosh into these different sectors. This is Opstal-Polder. This is the unpaved section now. A little bit of a test out. This is a fairly difficult section now of road. The riders have got to really think about where they ride on this particular sector. As Wout van Hoof tries to go across, he's the second chaser on the road. You see the amount of dust being thrown up by the riders. 44 seconds is now the lead for the quartet. Silent through here, apart from the whirring of the tyres across the gravel. Every now and then a bit of a bump. But it's all about being able to ride near the front, stay out of trouble, work your way forward while riders just go out the back with problems, with issues, with touches of wheels, with punctures. So if you can stay near the front, stay near the riders who are making the moves, and you've got a good opportunity to get a strong showing in this year's race. Last year, the top 6 with Mathieu van der Poel. Taco van der Hoorn was second. Those 2 riders were in a 2-up sprint. Then it was Tim Merlier who was third. Danny van Poppel just behind. Then Rasmus Tiller and Peter Havik. Look at the amount of dust being thrown up here. You'll be digging dust out of your ears for weeks after this. Number 53 there is Jenti Bakkart of the Bauwels Trek Lions. A little bit of a skid of that back wheel as he made his way around the corner. This is Sven Berger of the Beat cycling team. He was one of the riders who hit the deck. He may well be suffering a little bit. Sven Berger off that section then. There's the gap back to him, a 25-year-old rider from the Beat cycling team. Used to ride for the SEG Racing Academy. Joined the Beat cycling team in 2021. So far this season, he's ridden the races in Mallorca. Some of the smaller races, particularly across the Netherlands. As we make our way through the feed, things have calmed down a little bit in the peloton. The gap at 40 seconds. More attacks coming from Lotto Soudal. Here's our quartet. Looks like it might become a trio soon. Second wheel is Milan Merten. The Sport Vlaanderen rider, Jens Reinders. Whereas number 46, 23-year-old rider. Peloton powering on now. Well, thanks very much for joining us. This is the Antwerp Port Epic, the 5th edition of this race, based around the Antwerp Port, but signified by the cobbled streets and the unpaved roads. Loads of hospitality in this particular area as well, as you can see there on the left-hand side. It's really building in stature, this race, and lovely to see the way it's growing. It did set out with some great ambitions, 17 teams taking part this time. Antwerp, which is so associated with cycling, it goes back so long. We think back to 1920 when it held the Olympic road cycling on its streets. This is the back of the peloton. It's a real mix of different levels of riders in this race as well. So you see the people at the side of the road on the left-hand side enjoying that. This is Sven Berger, who's suffering really badly now. Intermarché, Wanty Gobert, who really have transformed themselves in the last 12 months from being a team that didn't really know how to behave as a World Tour team. You kind of got the sense they were still thinking they were a pro team. But now there is no doubt this team is on the ascendancy. They are mixing it in every top race. Currently with Domenico Pozzovivo lying 5th overall in the Giro d'Italia. They had stints in the leader's jersey of La Vuelta. We've seen Alexander Kristoff return to form with that victory a few weeks ago. We've seen so many top performances of their riders, and of course Biniam Girmay winning that stage in the Giro d'Italia a few days ago. So much is happening with this Intermarché Wanty Gobert team, and they're looking good. 21 seconds is now the lead as we get another acceleration, this time from the Intermarché Wanty Gobert team. This looks like a little bit like Andrea Pascal on him, just trying to see through the grit and the dirt on this rider. They've got in their squad today a mix of road riders and cyclocross rider. Corny van Kessel, one of the top cyclocross riders in the world, is in the team today wearing number 16. This is Boy van Poppel. So it wasn't Andrea Pascal. In fact, now I can see that it's Boy van Poppel. He's just trying to stretch the race out. Danny van Poppel was 4th place last year. His brother. Everyone just looking to see what sort of impact they've had with these little moves at the front of the race. We're getting into that critical moment in Antwerp Port Epic where this race really starts to take on a new shape. We've had the initial breakaway, now we're starting to see the moves from the peloton as riders who think they want to win this race start to emerge, start to make their way forward, where the plan starts to play out. Antwerp Port Epic, held last year, and of course was a little bit of an appetizer for the World Road Race Championships, which were held just a week later from last year's race. As we go on to the Bottasweg. You can hear the horns going all the time now in this race. This is an unpaved section of 1,495 metres, cobbles of around about 495, so a tricky section for the riders, taking them almost 2 kilometres both on unpaved and cobbled roads. Jens Reinders setting the tempo, winner of Grand Prix de la Ville de Péranchy in 2019. And a problem here for a rider at the side of the road. Looks like he had a little bit of a crash as he made his way around that corner. It was Ryan Christensen. Now we get another attack. Non-stop action now in Antwerp Port Epic. The thing about these turns is you have to go well into the turns. And then you have to make sure you stay on the bike through the corner. You can see just how much grit there is. Another acceleration. Well, Mathieu van der Poel can't be here, of course, to defend his title, as we see Gianni Vermeersch going clear. Again, one of the top cyclocross riders in the world. That's a wonderful helicopter shot, isn't it? Hovering above the fields and watching the riders going powering past. I don't think it's going to be long until the front of this peloton reaches the breakaway. In fact, there it is. There's our quartet who've been out in the lead all day today. 11 seconds now the advantage. Still the front of the race, Milan Menton, Jens Reinders, Stein Siemens and Roel van Sint-Markelijk. They realise now that their time in the lead is about to come to an end. easy through that left-hand turn, even despite the dry roads. They've got a little bit of respite now for a while. The next section will be at Freeland. Comes up in around about 8 kilometres time. So there's a little bit of time now for the riders just to settle down, work out what is going on in the race, work out where their teammates are. Much more condensed peloton now. Maybe what, 30, 35 riders in the main group on the road. So a chance then for things to consolidate just a little bit until we go forward, and then the race can really start to unfold. Thank you very much for joining me. This is the Antwerp Port Epic. 182 kilometres of racing, cobbled roads, unpaved roads, and a little bit of tarmac thrown in for good measure. And our 4-rider breakaway about to be reeled in. Peloton now being led by a number of different teams. Alpecin Fenix, they're the team in the blue and red. Bingoal in the neon yellow colours. Then it's Intermarché Wanty Gobert with the blue sleeve and the yellow sleeve. Up towards the front, Lotto Soudal looking pretty strong. Number 11 there, Dimitri Claes looking for his team car. Bit of a conversation going on. Not looking for the team car then, talking to one of the race directors. He's looking for a bottle. The race direction of Antwerp Port Epic, the race director is Nico Matan, famously winner of the Gent-Wevelgem. The regulator is Frank Hoster, and there's a number of other ex-riders involved in the organisation of this race as well. They really want to build the race and grow it in stature. It's part of the Europe Tour at the moment. So maybe the time of the year, it's quite difficult for them to get a good World Tour squads all lined out in the race. Last year we had 19 teams, this year we've got 17 teams. So maybe for next season, they'll look at the dates, look at when they can possibly get the best list of World Tour teams possible. Bit of a stretch now as riders try to go clear again. No one seems to be able to let any little groups go, despite the quartet at the front being 14 seconds up the road. This is Cedric Buelens riding for the Lotto Soudal team. He's about to be caught. Cedric, a 25-year-old rider, has just moved to Lotto Soudal from the Sport Vlaanderen Baloise team. Being caught there by Niels van der Putte of the team of Alpecin Fenix. Cedric Buelens there in the red at the front. He's got a contract to the end of 2023, so Lotto Soudal signed him for 2 seasons. Finishing the top 15 in the Eschborn Frankfurt. Also had a really good race in Omloop Het Nieuwsblad last year. He finished 17th, and it looks like Lotto Soudal are just trying to soften things up a little bit now for maybe their plan to be played out to win this race. Up at the front, Arnaud de Lee is up there, wearing number 23. De Lee's got to be one of the race favourites today, hasn't he? 20-year-old rider, already with a number of victories to his name. He won the Volta Limburg Classic, he won the Grote Prijs Jean-Pierre Moncert, He won Trofeo Palma already this season. He's had some really strong results. He was 4th in Trobro Leon. Also up towards the front, I've just noticed, Joran Verschure. Riding for Alpecin Fenix. But Lotto Soudal just trying to get strength in numbers up here in the moves. Gap is showing us 15 seconds. It doesn't quite look like that to me, because I think the breakaway is literally just under those trees. Let's take a little look and see if that gap is still intact. Menton, Reinders, Sint Markensdijk and Siemens are all at the front. And now the race is about to come all back together. An elite group of riders. 11 riders catch the leaders to make it 15. Another group coming across. Stein Siemens of the Gjovko Doltini team looking for a wheel. Not a great moment. The entire peloton has gone by. Everyone looking around at each other. Now we start to see more moves happening. Well, with the quartet now being caught, everything's reset. The riders now need to play out and work out how they can win this race. Having had 30 riders in the lead, things have kind of swelled in numbers. It looks like we've got double the amount at the front. Maybe a group of around 50 riders involved in the action. Move now. 2 riders going clear. Harry Sweeney. Good to see him back after that big crash that he had. Boy Van Poppel makes his way into the move as well. So does Samuel Gaze. And Ruben Apers is the 4th rider going across. Another rider jumps too. 5 riders into that breakaway. Another acceleration. As we see one rider trying to get in there. Sander Lemons rides for the Tartaletto team. There he goes. Jumps his way into the group. Got to keep vigilant. Got to think about who are the combinations, who are the right riders to go with. So Sander Lemons makes his way into that group, making it 6 now at the front. Lemons, a 22-year-old rider, rides for the cyclocross team of Tartaletto Isorex. This is the front of the race. Kicking on then, Harry Sweeney. Sweeney just swings across. Lets Ruben Apers go through. The colours of Sport Vlaanderen. Coming through then, Boy Van Poppel does his turn. Samuel Gaze goes through in the colours of Alpecin Fenix. He built quite a considerable advantage. And this group really don't know how to react now as they all look across at each other. Team cars just slotting into the right positions, and here we are with our front group. The other rider who's in here looks like one of the Volker Wessel cycling team. And we're now on to Freeland. So we've made our way through that little zone that we talked about, where the riders have got an opportunity just to consolidate things, and now we've ended up with a 6-rider move. We're in Freeland. This is 1,950 metres of unpaved road. .16 seconds for our 6 leaders. The peloton being stretched a little. Looks like the team of Bingoal not too happy with this combination. Going to try and bring this back together if they possibly can. Pretty incredible the way that the organisation of this race works, isn't it? With so much chopping and changing and turns all the time. This is our group. They seem to be working well together. Harry Sweeney there on the back. He's the rider in the red, white and black. A rider who's brought in to help Caleb Ewan. Last year in the Tour de France, you may remember, 23 years of age, finished 3rd on a stage of the Tour de France. Great to see Harry Sweeney back though, and racing. This is Jeroen Eiskens, who's got a puncture. And more riders just losing it round that corner. We are back with our group. Harry Sweeney then just finished Trobro-Léon. Nothing amazing as far as performance was concerned. Helped out his team. So far this season, there or thereabouts in a number of different races. He's got a contract at the end of 2022, but I'm sure the work he did last year of finishing 3rd on a stage of the Tour de France. He's won Piccolo Lombardia before in his career. I'm sure that's going to help him get a new contract for the following season. .19 seconds for our leading group of riders. This is quite a long section now. This is our area of about 2.5 kilometres. A little bit of cobblestones in here as well. So 2,000 metres of unpaved road, about 400 metres, 420 metres of cobbles. So it really does add to the mix. Let's see if this group of riders can start to build their advantage. They seem to be riding pretty significantly well together. Harry Sweeney we've spoken about. Number 17 in here is Boy van Poppel. 34 years of age now, Boy van Poppel. He's been around for a long time. He's ridden for some great teams, hasn't he? You think about his career, he joined the Rabobank Continental team back in 2007. He rode for United Healthcare, he's ridden for Trek Segafredo. He went to Rompot and he then moved to what was Circus and became Intermarché Wanty Gobert. So he kind of went through different levels, Continental teams, Pro Continental, went into the World Tour, ended up back in the Pro Continental ranks and then came back to the World Tour. Good to see Boy van Poppel in this breakaway. He's not had loads of victories in his career, only one win, but he's been a great helper to so many riders. Tour of Missouri stage was the only victory he's taken in his pro career, so if he managed to take today's race victory, it would be a huge moment for him. 24 seconds as a lead with 46.5 kilometres to go. And Boy van Poppel is a versatile rider, likes to be able to get involved in the action, right in the front for his teammates. Who's to say that he couldn't take today's race win? It would be a big day for Intermarché, Montgobert, and for Boy van Poppel if he could manage to do that. Hanging on towards the back of the group there, number 6, Bjorn Verschure. If you start to suffer in this race, it really gets you quickly. He's the rider in the blue jersey, and when riders leave gaps in front, there is literally nothing you can do at times. You just have to hope that everyone stays in the wheels, stays in the moves, and that you stay in contact. Because when it's relentlessly fast like this, it can be very, very difficult. Well, the fans have positioned themselves along the route. And this is the rundown of the front group of riders. Samuel Gaze, wearing number 2 there on the right-hand side, just talking into his race radio. Harry Sweeney. We're back on smoother tarmac. It must feel considerably better when you manage to get there. Ruben Apers is the rider in second wheel at the moment, riding for the Sport Vlaanderen team. As always on these races though, when you've got that little advantage up the front, you've got to try and take good use of it. Especially in this sort of race, you've got to hope that you can consolidate your position, that riders behind really start to suffer, and as we can see, the Bingoal team are riding hard on the front there. Wearing number 34 is Arlen Livens from the Bingoal Pau Salson team, looking to try and bring the squad back into a better position. So our front group of riders: Samuel Gaze, Boy van Poppel, Harry Sweeney, Ruben Apers, Sander Lemmens and Roel van Sintermarten Stijk. That's the front group of riders. Bit of a gap back to the chasers. Getting a time gap now because it looks like things are starting to close in. It was 15 seconds. For some reason, this front group doesn't seem now to be as consolidated as it was. It doesn't seem to be working that well. Maybe someone's sitting on in here. We're on to Rijgersbos, which is a cobblestone section, 480 metres. That turn straight onto the path at the side. Such was the pace that he carried through the apex of that turn. So the Tartaletto rider, Sander Lemmens, looking just how good he is on a bike. Generally these riders who ride cyclocross just can show us how at home they are on their machines. Harry Sweeney takes a little bit of a glance around and realises this is probably just coming all back together. Sweeney looking for that little trench at the side as we make our way onto Oud Pappenstraat. This is a cobblestone section, 480 metres. A rider who wins this race has got to have a combination of the power in the legs on the day, the mental fortitude, and a little bit of luck. Otherwise, you're really never going to win this race. 32 there at the back. Milan Mentoni was in that original breakaway. A very warm welcome to the Antwerp Port Epic. 42.8 kilometres to go, and we're on another crash. There's been quite a lot of crashes on today's race. Well, let's hope this rider is okay. He has taken a very, very heavy tumble there. This is Jord back of the Volker Wessel cycling team. Let's hope he's okay. The doctors are with him immediately, which is always important. Let's take a look at how that crash happened. And it looked like a rider maybe touching the curb at the side of the road. Here in Belgium, you've got loads of little touches of curb and different changes of terrain. You've got to have your wits about you all the time. But when riders are getting tired like they are now, mistakes begin to sneak into their armoury and they have all sorts of issues. 42 kilometres to go. We're into the last hour of racing. It's been a fast race so far. The riders at the moment on a 42 km/h schedule. We'll anticipate them finishing just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And another attack at the front. Yet again, Harry Sweeney stretches the race. He wants to try and get this race away, doesn't he? Sweeney is an attacking rider. He's an exciting rider to watch. Trying to go across to him. As Sweeney stretches the race out. Going across to him now is looks a little bit like Tom Vertgen. It's Tom Vertgen who's made his way into that group now. So Sweeney moves to the right-hand side in the red and white. Still the same riders are making the moves. Everyone just looking around to see where their teammates are, seeing what arm they have. Harry Sweeney getting a little bit annoyed now. Not happy with the way that riders are just letting gaps go. Chasing him down, but not chasing others. Another acceleration. An Alpecin Fenix rider goes clear. And immediately on the attack, Gianni Vermeersch. He looks around, see what sort of damage he can do. And it comes all back together again. You wonder who's going to make that decisive move. In recent years, we have seen solo winners. We've seen 2 riders come to the finish. Generally, something happens where the elastic finally breaks and riders manage to get away. Surely with the way that they are racing today, which, to be fair, is absolutely flat out, something is going to happen. Another big attack. It's like the style of Brent Van Moer making his way into the second wheel. Another big move. Gianni Vermeersch was the rider who started this, but it's been swapped over with another teammate now, I think. And it's his teammate, Samuel Gaze, who's again in the front group. So Alpecin Fenix constantly being represented. Isn't it funny how we're racing on these unpaved and cobbled roads, and alongside is the main motorway around Antwerp. As you can see there on the left, you'd never know it. These incredible roads to the right-hand side, the farm tracks, the unpaved roads, the cobblestones. Gianni Vermeersch looks around. Just shows when you get off the beaten track on a bike, you can get to see all sorts. This is the A12, the unpaved A12. Just alongside the main motorway on the left-hand side. It's around about 500 meters of unpaved road. Getting a bit of a split going on now. It's a little bit like Jules Hesters of Sport Vlaanderen, is the rider who's constantly checking around to see what is going on. There's that group of maybe 25 riders, which is the main bulk of the peloton now, and they're not really doing much about these accelerations and these attacks, because I think it's at that point in the race where everyone is pretty tired. Now it's the strong men who are appearing at the front of the race, looking for the victory, as we see another 6 riders just emerging at the front of this peloton. So a group of 6 being chased by a group of 4, with a group of maybe 25 riders behind that. Front of the race then, Gaze, Clays, Brent Van Moor, Jules Hesters, Jens Reinders, Thies Aerts is also up there as well. On to the next sector. This is the De Luwe. 730 metres of cobblestones, 2,400 metres of unpaved road. Got to really choose how you ride these different sectors. Some riders like to look for a little bit of green, so there's a bit more grip. Some riders like to ride on the paved section, the grit section. Each to their own as to how you do it, but generally I think someone would go left or right here. You've just got to be careful not to catch the tyre in a big thick section of gravel or grit or mud. The amount of dust being thrown up here though is absolutely incredible right now, as we look like we're getting a group of around 10-12 riders at the front. Still no real clue as to who's going to emerge victorious from this Antwerp Port Epic and follow the riders who've won this race before. We're going to head back down into the port. Antwerp, of course, on the River Schelde, linked by the North Sea up to the Schelde West Estuary. We're about 40 kilometres north of Brussels, 15 kilometres south of the Dutch border. And the port itself, of which this race celebrates, is one of the biggest in the world, second largest in Europe, and within the top 20 globally as well. Antwerp, of course, known for its diamond trade. Certainly a very well-known city. We're going to head down back towards the port house. We finished not too far from there, the headquarters of the Antwerp Port Authority, one of the biggest features of the skyline in Antwerp itself. Lots of races going on today. Also in the race convoy is the assistant race director, Staf Scheerlinks, who's, when you go back and look at his Palmares, he was a pro from 2000 to 2013. Rode 6 Grand Tours. Didn't win any bike races, but had a good career nonetheless. This is still the head of the race, being stretched by Brent Van Moor. Brent Van Moor's an interesting rider. stage winner in the Criterium du Dauphiné. Finished 8th and 9th on stages of the Tour de France last year. He's a rider who is strong at 24 years of age. And you get the feeling that Brent Van Moer, once he starts to win bike races, will be a rider who just wins a lot of bike races. A little bit like Thomas de Gendt. "35 kilometres to go, and the race is still stretched." Well, thank you very much for joining me. I'm Anthony McCrossan. 35 kilometres to go in the Antwerp Port Epic. We've seen the original breakaway be brought back. We've seen other breakaways featuring riders such as Boy Van Poppel and Harry Sweeney. But we still don't have a real measure of how this race is going to unfold. Gianni Vermeersch tries to go again on the attack. Vermeersch, is he joining up with one of his teammates as we make our way onto the Cabo Jau? This is 1,525 metres of unpaved road. Still got a lot of sectors to go. I make it around about 11 or 12 sectors still remain before the race finish. So we've still got a significant amount of cobblestones and unpaved road to deal with. But there are riders in 1s and 2s all over the place right now. At the front, Gianni Vermeersch, trying to race this and push this race on, trying to stretch it, trying to let the elastic break. 3 riders emerging towards the front. Gianni Vermeersch, 29 years of age, winner of this race in 2020. He loves this race. He loves the combination of the fact that it's on cobbles, it's on grit and it's on tarmac. It really does take him to his cyclocross background, the same as the likes of Mathieu van der Poel. This year he's also on a stage of the 4 days of Dunkirk. So he's already got a victory up on the board already. As much of the Alpecin Fenix team, of course. They are riding superbly, and the news about that squad is they are going to apply to be a World Tour team for next season. And that adds a little bit of spice to the relegation and promotion standings that are going on between the World Tour teams. Another move then. 3 riders go clear. But Lotto Soudal don't look too happy with this, and they are going to chase it down. These are riders trying to come back, the back of the peloton. Involved in that group, Ward Hoops of the Baloise Trek Lions. Baloise Trek Lions run by Sven Nys. He's got riders like Lucinda Brand as a member of that squad for the cyclocross season. Lars van der Haar and others. But the head of the race is relentless right now, isn't it? Well, thank you very much for joining me for the Antwerp Port Epic. We are running in towards the conclusion of this race. Still no breakaway has emerged. You wonder whether the weather conditions today are playing into the hands of what might end up being a bunch sprint. Because the weather, the wind is not blowing hard, it's a lovely warm day, So it could be that we end up with a bunch sprint today, which would be a little bit unthinkable. As we make our way back to Kontischep, this is the third time we've been on this sector. We're crisscrossing our way back and forward across the cobbles and the pave. The riders, after a while, will suddenly go, oh, I recognise this, I've ridden this before. This is 1,315 metres in length. It's on cobblestones. Front of the race then. Looks like Dimitri Claeys setting the tempo. Looking around to see whether anyone is going to assist and do any work. The rider from Intermarché, Wanty Gobert. Dimitri Claeys, winner of the 4 Days of Dunkirk back in 2018. On a stage of the Tour de Wallonie. 34 years of age now, Dimitri Claeys. Bit of an attack from Sport Vlaanderen Baloise. Notice the way that the riders will pick their line and look for how they're going to consolidate their position when they make their way around the next turn. Moving left to right, looking for the best line onto the cobbles, into the next section that they need to work their way into. Constantly, though, at the front, the grit-laden faces as another attack starts to happen. Another big move. Intermarché Wanty Gobert riders. More and more of them riding in the same way as Taco van der Hoorn, with the brake levers turned right in. Taco van der Hoorn style. Gives them a little bit more aerodynamics, makes braking a little bit more difficult, but now we get another attack. Is anyone going to manage to break away? Sport Vlaanderen constantly represented in these moves. And going away at the front now is Jens Renders again. How many times has he attacked today? Jens Renders, you can always tell him, big, powerful rider, isn't he? The rider's on to what we call the Dardeweg. 200 metres, a little bit short. This will feel like a very short section for them. Jens Renders on the attack as he makes his way out of there. Taking with him 4 or 5 riders, 2 Alpecin Fenix riders. The rider in the yellow shades is Gianni Vermeersch, who now looks to be very intent on getting away. He knows how important it is. 6 riders now on the attack with a little bit of an advantage, and there's quite a lot of disarray in the chasing group. Everyone looking around at each other. At the front of the peloton there is Harry Sweeney. He's also taken out of the race. Andrea Pascalon. Behind him is Samuel Gaze. Just behind him is Wout van Hoof. Also out of it is Brent Van Moor at the moment. And also out Toon van den Bosch. So this leading group of riders, with Harry Sweeney quite happy with the combination, may well start to build a lead pretty substantially and quite quickly. This is our leading group. Number 51, Thibaut Nice, has made his way into the group. He is on the back. Renders is the rider who started it. Just ahead, we can see number 25 there from the Lotto Soudal team. That is Florian Vermeersch. This is a very, very good group. Also in here is Timo Kielich. He's made it in for the Alpecin Fenix team, and any one of the Alpecin Fenix team can win a bike race. Thibaut Nice. What a move this would be if he could take home the victory. Well, that slight lull in the chase has meant that this group has already opened up 19 seconds. Gianni Vermeersch has also made his way in here, as has Adrien Petit, wearing number 14 for the team of Intermarché. This is a very good group. Well, Alpecin Fenix are going to kick on. Renders of the Sport Vlaanderen team. Thibaut Nice, Lotto Soudal have got the rider they wanted up the road. Florian Vermeersch and Alpecin have got 2 riders. Adrien Petit will be quite happy to think he could win from this group as well. The 31-year-old Frenchman from Arras, winner of Trobro Leon in 2014, Adrien Petit. This is a workable group. Adrien Petit finished 6th in the Paris-Roubaix this year. Can he now bring home this victory? So 6 riders, 25 seconds now the advantage. This is the chase going on. Harry Sweeney quite happy to sit second wheel with the remote control and let this gap go out. 28 seconds is now the lead. So just over 28 kilometres of racing to go when this group went. Gianni Vermeersch having to work a little bit hard to stay with this group in front of him. There he is on the right-hand side, choosing to ride in the trench. This looks like we're back on Rigobos, which is this cobbled section of 480 metres. And the pace has really gone out of the chase. Lotto Soudal, Intermarché Wanty-Gobert, they're happy. So are Sport Vlaanderen, so are Alpecin Fenix. Looks like it might be game over. 37 seconds now the lead, and it's going to come down to some of the smaller teams to chase. We're on to Rigobos now with the chase. 37 seconds. Well, we've had a wonderful race so far. Thank you for joining us for the Antwerp Port Epic. We saw the original breakaway group of riders. They were brought back. Since then, it's been non-stop skirmishes. They really have put in a strong showing here. Gianni Vermeersch has won this race before. He must be licking his lips right now, thinking there's another possibility. On that day, he beat Stan de Wolf into second place, a rider from Agiduzet Citroën, and it was Baptiste Planquet who took third place. The team of Intermarché, Wanty-Gobert, have a good history in this race, with now Guillaume van Giersbroek in the race. They've had Taco van der Hoorn on the podium. Alpecin Fenix have had wins with Mathieu van der Poel, and Tim Merlier has finished on the podium on 2 occasions as well. So there is all sorts of options opening up here for the team. The big unknown, though, in this race is number 51. Thibaut Nice at the back. Goes through, takes a bottle. Under 23 European road race champion. He's only 19 years of age. He's signed a contract with Baloise Trek Lions to the end of 2024. We make our way on to the next section, which is Opstelpolder. A 6th time we've been across here. 420 metres of cobblestones, 1,810 metres of unpaved road. Peloton really have let this race go now. 51 seconds with 25.5 kilometres remaining. If they can grow this advantage to over a minute, I think this could be the group that goes all the way to the finish. Gianni Vermeersch pushes on. How many cyclocross riders are in this front group? The tall figure of Florian Vermeersch works his way forward. He's in the red. Look at him towering above Thibaut Nice. Only 19 years of age. Incredible, isn't it? His father, of course, one of the most successful cyclocross riders of all time, but already Thibaut Nice is building his own palmares. He's junior world champion in cyclocross. Bronze medalist in the under-23 cyclocross world championships as well. Can pack a sprint as well, there is no doubt about that. So they don't want to take Thibaut Nice all the way to the finish line. Thibaut Nice quite happy to push the pace on, as the gap now is over the magic minute. Thibaut Nice accelerates hard. Adrien Petit having to work hard to get on the wheel of the fast-moving 19-year-old. How much talent is there in the world peloton right now with riders underneath 23 years of age? It's absolutely incredible. "24 kilometers to go." We're making our way along the A12 again, heading our way back towards the finish line in Antwerp for the end of the Antwerp Port Epic. Let's just remind you of our leading group of riders. In the front group, Gianni Vermeersch of the team of Alpecin Fenix, Timo Kielich of Alpecin Fenix. Also in the front group, Florian Vermeersch of Lotto Soudal, Jens Renders of the Sport Vlaanderen squad, Thibaut Nice of Baloise Trek Lions, Adrien Petit of Intermarché Wanty Gobert. Vermeersch being a little bit clever here. He's got his teammate in Timo Kielich who's in here. Kielich is 22 years of age, a stage winner in the Tour of Bulgaria. But Timo Kielich can do all the work. Gianni Vermeersch can sit on the back. And he can take life nice and easy. Florian Vermeersch is the rider who finished second in Paris-Roubaix behind Sonny Colbrelli in 2021. A strong rider, a rider who loves the cobblestones. Make our way back past the hospitality there on the right-hand side, which is huge. So many people out watching this race. 23 kilometers to go and the gap at 1:24. Surely this is the race-winning move. Florian Vermeersch goes through. Do you remember that day in the Paris-Roubaix? He was in the breakaway pretty much all day. Ended up finishing second behind Sonny Colbrelli, beat Mathieu van der Poel, and then the group was led in by Gianni Moscon, and then it was about a minute behind Yves Lampaert, Christophe Laporte, Wout van Aert. Van Aert's finished 8th in this race before. That was a few years ago in, I think, edition number 1 when he was riding for the Verandas Willems team. So is Vermeersch the favourite out of this front group? Adrien Petit. There's so much firepower in this race. Jens Renders was the rider who started this attack. So he can, no matter what happens, he can say, I was the rider who started it. It was with just over 28 kilometers to go. Not much unpaved and cobblestones roads left. I make it 4 more little sections. And then the riders will make their way into the port for the final time. Everyone looking around, just seeing who is doing the damage. And now an attack. Big move by Gianni Vermeersch. He knows that riders have time trial to victory before, and he's deciding to do it himself. But is this going to cause problems in the group behind? When they realise how strong he is, maybe they'll all stop working, and that will be problematic for the leader. It'll be problematic for the entire group. Just inside 22 kilometres to go. Gianni Vermeersch being hunted down by Florian Vermeersch. And it looks like it's going to come all back together again. Such narrow little roads. Vermeersch quite happy to just push this on. Talks into his race radio, looks around. We're trying to work out the difference between him and his teammate. You can just see those yellow shades. Timo Kielich wearing the black shades. A bit of conversation goes on then. Thibaut Nice looks around. 125. Timo Kielich just trying to take in that last bottle. That'll be a much more sugary drink. A little bit of caffeine in it as well to get him to the race finish. This is focus time. Adrien Petit looks around to see who's going to come through and work, and Florian Vermeersch looks like he didn't want to. You don't want to start messing around. In fact, this is the peloton now we're taking a look at. So everyone really not working in here, which means that everything is just going to go bigger as far as the gap is concerned. A little bit of cyclocross as the riders take to the grass. Hasn't been one of those epic wet and horrible days across the cobbles, thankfully. It's been a pretty dry day. So it's given us the chance to see the riders. On the front of the group then, Timo Kielich onto this next section. This is the Bottasweg. Third time we've been across here. 1,495 metres of unpaved road and around about 495 metres of cobblestones. Love this shot, the way that the helicopter is just able to get the riders into that shot, and you can see the momentum as they work their way forward. You can see just how closely they're having to ride with each other to shelter each other from any wind and to keep the momentum as high as possible. Gives you that real sense of speed and that real ability of these riders. Gianni Vermeersch kicks through again. Timo Kielich, who's going to be next rider in the group. A little bit of a conversation. They look quite happy with the way things are working out here. Such a perfect example of how riders work together to keep the pace as high as possible. Inside 20 kilometers of racing to go. One minute 40. The gap has gone even more significantly higher than it was before. Who would win from a sprint in this group of riders? I think it would come down to Gianni Vermeersch and Thibaut Nice for the victory here, but it'd be great to hear your thoughts. Certainly one of those riders has got a real punch. We know how good they are in a cyclocross sprint. Everyone seems to be contributing about the similar amount of work. No one seems to be shirking the workload. And that's what they've really got to do. A perfect storm of the best teams and the top riders, the riders they wanted in the breakaway, will help this group of riders go all the way to the finish line. Thibaut Nice, no major wins as far as this level of racing is concerned. He's had plenty of victories in his career so far. Jens Reinders, no wins in his career. This would be a huge victory for him. 23-year-old rider. Can he bring this one home? It is anyone's race out of this front group of 6. Adrien Petit has had 9 wins so far in his career. So he's used to putting his hands in the air, and a rider who is a little bit wily when it comes to a race victory. Gianni Vermeersch so far, 3 wins in his career. So we'll see whether he can add to that, get it a quartet. Timo Kielich, no wins so far. So a little bit of a combination, isn't there, of the levels that these riders are. Florian Vermeersch hasn't won anything yet either, which is a little bit of a surprise considering this performance in the Paris-Roubaix. He's working his way through towards the front then. Jens Reinders looking for a bottle. Adrien Petit really putting in a massive turn there. Jens Reinders definitely looking for a bottle. It's inside the last 20 kilometers of racing though. I'm not so sure he's going to be allowed one. Well, that was a neutral service car that came up to Reinders, which would signify that the commissaire, the race commissaire, has said it's okay to give him a bottle. May well be that his team car hasn't made it up to him yet. 17.3 kilometers now remain. Coming up towards the next sector. Just ahead of them now, after that right-hand turn. This is the Blochweg, I think, that they make their way onto now. 1,695 meters of unpaved road. And the way Gianni Vermeersch rides these sectors. Sitting there wearing number 1, riding along as though it's still flat tarmac. Not any change in the way he rides. Just sits on the back, very comfortable on any road surface. His teammate, as you can see, on the front, doing the work. Two more sectors left after this. Then it's the run-in to the race finish at the end of this. What is 181.4 kilometers. Our next sector after we come off here is going to take the riders, it's a little bit of a time, about 5k until we reach the penultimate sector. It's an area of cobblestones, only short, 290 meters. And then just before the run-in to the finish, with around about 10 kilometers to go, we've got an unpaved section of 1,100 meters and 465 meters of cobblestones. Well, thanks very much for joining us. If you have just joined us now, 16.1 kilometers to go in the 5th edition of the Antwerp-Port Epic, the 6-rider breakaway. Jens Reinders of the Sport Vlaanderen team. Thibaut Nice, the son of the famous Sven Nys of Baloise Trek Lions. Florian Vermeersch of Lotto Soudal. Timo Kielich of the team of Alpecin Fenix. Wearing number 1 as a previous winner, Gianni Vermeersch, also of Alpecin Fenix. and it is Audrien Petit of Intermarché, Wanty Gobert. These 6 riders broke away inside the final 30 kilometres of racing. Their gap now 1 minute 52 seconds with a peloton that doesn't look too interested at all in bringing this race back together, and in fact I'm pretty sure there is no chance really of them doing that. There's a rundown then of the 6 riders in the break. Now we've been speculating over who might take the victory. There's a number of riders who haven't won a race in this group. 4 of them haven't won a race out of 6. That's in terms of this level of bike racing. The riders who have won bike races, Gianni Vermeersch wearing number 1 and Audrien Petit with 9 wins. He's the rider on the back. He's the most experienced rider when it comes to taking race wins. Audrien Petit wearing number 14 there. As they work their way through to the front again. Florian Vermeersch, so powerful, isn't he? Thibau Nys in great company. But he won't think that. He'll just think, I'm going to win this race today. This is going to be something to add to my Palmares. Florian Vermeersch going through to the front in the red and black kit. A rider who we didn't really know an awful lot about until he did that performance in the Paris-Roubaix, but since then much more has been written about Florian Vermeersch, about his background and about very interesting as an individual. Can he win today's race? Looking down then on the riders in the breakaway. 13.5 kilometres to go. 10.3 kilometers to go, 2 minutes 40 seconds. Sorry, we had a little bit of tech problems with our audio, but we're back online now in time for the run into the race finish. This is the Antwerp Port Epic, still the same scenario. 2 minutes 44 seconds as Timo Kielich decides to go on the attack. This is the unpaved section of road at 10 kilometers to go. This is our final unpaved section before the riders make their way in towards Antwerp for the race finish. A little bit of a stretch. Thibaut Nice goes on the move to get into the wheels. Thibaut Nice looking strong, isn't he, at the moment? This is very, very impressive from this youngster. Jens Renders on the back of the group now, just trying to hold on. He'll be thinking about a possible win here this afternoon. His first ever victory for the Sport Vlaanderen team. His first ever victory in his career if he could take it. Florian Vermeersch calms it all down again. 2 minutes 45 seconds. Looks around. Thibaut Nice now decides to ride forward. Reminds me a little bit the way he rides of Lars van der Haar, a similar sort of style and stature on the bike. Gianni Vermeersch starting to be a little bit clever. Moves towards the back of the group. Wearing number 1. Renders is doing no work at all. Trying to save the legs for the run into the race finish. Vermeersch has won this race before. He'd be the first rider to win it on two occasions. The sun on the back of the riders. They swing all across the road. The peloton, what's left of it, at 2 minutes 49. So this race will be decided by this 6-rider leading group. Renders has had enough of what's going on at the back. Vermeersch is playing around. So far this season, Alpecin Fenix, what a season they've had. 14 wins as a team as we come off that sector and now onto smoother roads on the run into the finish line. Their last victory, of course, with Stefano Oldani. As we see the attack, it comes from Gianni Vermeersch, going clear now as he makes his way along the side of the huge port here in Antwerp. Vermeersch makes his move. Adrien Petit on his wheel is Renders. Renders is just hoping to get to the finish and win this one in a sprint by the looks of things. Adrien Petit takes a bottle. Gianni Vermeersch. This is a sparkling attack by Gianni Vermeersch. It's very, very late to be taking bottles on board in this race. Florian Vermeersch chasing down Gianni Vermeersch now. Looks like this race is going to come all back together. Surprised that Gianni Vermeersch doesn't think he would win this in a sprint, but it's the old 1-2 of Alpecin Fenix. Timo Kielich decides to try and go, but balks at that move. Now he makes another move on the right hand side of the road, but Florian Vermeersch immediately onto the wheel. Alpecin Fenix are trying to soften this one up. Gianni Vermeersch flicks the elbow, says to Thibaut Nice, go through. Renders makes his move on the right-hand side in that yellow and blue kit. And now Timo Kielich goes again with another acceleration. Renders decides he's unable to let that one go. Timo Kielich looking strong, gritted teeth as he makes his way back in towards the finish line. 7 kilometers of racing to go. A slender advantage for the Alpecin Fenix rider as everybody looks around at each other. Is this the one? Florian Vermeersch so strong, going across the tram trail tracks there. He looks around. Thibaut Nace happy to be in the wheels at the moment. Another big acceleration from Adrien Petit. 6th in the Paris-Roubaix. Refuses to let Timo Kielich go. Adrien Petit closes the gap. Slowly but surely onto the wheel. It's so stretched right now. Bumping their way over the train tracks. Another move on the right hand side. Everyone looks around again. It calms down. We're making our way back into Antwerp. Population of just over 500,000 people. Right on the River Schelde. Linked to the North Sea by the Westerschelde estuary. Another attack. Gianni Vermeersch goes into the wheels and decides to try and launch through the middle, but then looks around at his namesake Florian Vermeersch and decides not to go. 6 riders and we are being treated to an absolute spectacle. Well, working back into Antwerp now. Antwerp's potential as a seaport was recognised by Napoleon Bonaparte, and he ordered the construction of the first lock and dock in 1811, still called the Bonaparte Dock, joined by the second dock, the Willem Dock, after the Dutch king in 1813. Since then, it has been built into one of the biggest ports in the world. Another attack, left-hand side of the road, but they don't seem to have the legs, do they now? It's been such a tough bike race. Timo Kielich goes. Thibaut Nace goes into the wheels. Florian Vermeersch works his way up into the slipstream. Adrien Petit and Timo Kielich now at the back. Gianni Vermeersch is up there. 4 riders. They're ducking and diving all over the road. What a spectacle this is for a race finish. 5,400 metres to go. To me, Thibaut Nace is quite happy to be trying to win this in a sprint. Who is playing the game best? Adrien Petit goes through to the front. Florian Vermeersch on the wheel, in the red. Gianni Vermeersch gets ready to go with another big acceleration. And he goes again. Thibaut Nace decides to go. He jumps across. How many more attacks has this rider got in the legs? Gianni Vermeersch goes clear. 4.9 kilometres to go. Thibaut Nace immediately makes his way across to him. Gianni Vermeersch looking for a little bit of help. Well, they know each other on the cyclocross circuit. Renders looks across. Thibaut Nace. Is he able to go through? I'm not so sure. But they've got a gap and they've got maybe 100 metres on the rest of the chasers who are looking around at each other. Thibaut Nace will give Florian Vermeersch a turn. But Vermeersch doesn't look like he's going to work. So it's all going to potentially come all back together. Gianni Vermeersch doesn't want to take Thibaut Nace to the finish because I think he realises that this youngster's got a bit of a sprint on him. Under 23 European road race champion. It comes back together again and immediately Vermeersch attacks on the left-hand side. In the blue for Alpecin Fenix. The 6 all come back together. Renders in the yellow and blue. Thibaut Nace in the Baloise Trek Lions with the red on the back of the shirt. Florian Vermeersch in the red, white and black of Lotto Soudal. Timo Kielich, the other rider from Alpecin Fenix, wearing number 3. Gianni Vermeersch of Alpecin Fenix sitting right at the back, wearing number 1 as a previous winner. And Adrien Petit wearing number 14, who's got more wins than all the other riders combined. 3.9 kilometres to go. Well, we haven't seen a finish to a race in the Antwerp Port Epic like this one. Adrien Petit has got a good sprint on him. Winner Trobro Leon. A race very similar to this as Renders now attacks. Thibaut Nace goes with him. Maybe getting a bit caught up in the accelerations. The last win of Adrien Petit was in 2017. It's a long, long time. Is someone going to manage to sneak away on the run into the finish, or is it going to be a bunch sprint of 6? 3,300 meters to go. They're almost there. 181.4 kilometers of racing today, and it comes down to this. Still everyone making their moves. They reach the 3 kilometers to go point. Well, 17 teams left the race start earlier on today at 12:30. They've made their way across the dust and the gravel and the cobbles. And now it's all going to come down to a group of 6 as we see another attack. Big acceleration. Gianni Vermeersch goes. Thibaut Nice is on his wheel. And Florian Vermeersch tries to go as well. Yet again, they all put the brakes on. Gianni Vermeersch goes. Florian Vermeersch now makes his move. Thibaut Nice wants to get on the wheel immediately of this rider. You cannot let Florian Vermeersch attack like this. No wins in his career, but second in the Paris-Roubaix shows how strong this bike rider is. And this could be the move. 2,300 meters to go, and they're spread all across the road on the run-in. Gianni Vermeersch flicks the elbow. He realizes that the youngster, the 19-year-old, is not able to make another turn. Florian Vermeersch into time trial mode. Thibaut Nice drops the shoulders, looks tired. Gianni Vermeersch has attacked so many times inside the final 2. Florian Vermeersch is going away. This has been a perfectly executed attack. What a move by Florian Vermeersch. Well, he was part of that original breakaway. Can he do it? Can he time trial his way into the race win today? Harry Sweeney did so much work for him to block the race when he went. Looks superb this afternoon. Here's the chase. Thibaut Nice, Gianni Vermeersch has probably done too much attacking. As we make our way in towards the finish, past the Port House, this wonderfully designed architectural masterpiece sitting there in the international port. Florian Vermeersch is about to go past it, designed by Zahi Hadid Architects and the headquarters of the Antwerp Port Authority, with its breathtaking views across the Antwerp skyline. It's not far from the finish line. Florian Vermeersch has got 1 kilometer to go. He can hear the commentator on the finish line. Behind him, the youngster Thibaut Nice is looking for a podium finish in the Antwerp Port Epic. Gianni Vermeersch tried to set this up for the team of Alpecin Fenix. But everyone is spread across the road now. Finished 13th in the Trobro Leon just a week ago. This is a big moment for Florian Vermeersch. The group went away just inside 30 kilometers to go. Gianni Vermeersch is trying to chase him down. The winner a couple of years ago from Alpecin Fenix. Thibaut Nice is holding on for 3rd place, but it's going to be a first professional win for the Lotto Soudal rider. It is going to be victory in the 5th edition of Antwerp Port Epic, and it's Florian Vermeersch who takes his first pro win. 2nd place goes to Gianni Vermeersch. 3rd is going to go to Thibaut Nice, the 19-year-old. Behind them, it is Renders of Sport, Vlaanderen, then it's Adrian Petit, and then it's the other Alpecin Fenix rider, Timo Kielish. A big day for Florian Vermeersch. He takes his first professional win. Perfectly timed. The attack was executed to perfection. Well, he turned professional with Lotto Soudal formally in 2021. He's managed to take the win he's been looking for, that has been so close on so many occasions. It doesn't get much bigger than finishing on the podium of the Paris-Roubaix, but to get your first pro win is always a huge moment. The end of last year was really good to him. Third in the under-23 individual time trial world championship, second in the Paris-Roubaix. He's a rider with so much promise, and here is the chasing group coming in. Lotto Soudal will be happy. They'll know in the race radio that they have already taken the win. And Lotto Soudal need every victory they can take right now with the relegation system that's in place. As we look out over the port and wait for the chasing group to come in, Florian Vermeersch will be able to just recover and reflect on a big day. Lotto Soudal now looking to try and bring home another position in the top 10. All points count, so all are important. Intermarché Wanty-Gobert, they're moving up as well with all their troops intact. And they've got Boy Van Poppel as a sprinter here. Lotto Soudal have got Arnaud Delis, and if he's in that group, which I think he is, Harry Sweeney leading this one out for Lotto Soudal, keeps the tempo nice and high, swamped a little by the Intermarché Wanty-Gobert team as they get ready for the sprint. So 4 hours, 16 minutes, 42.5 kilometers an hour, and it looks like it is going to be on the line a photo finish between Lotto Soudal and Intermarché Wanty-Gobert. 42.5 kilometers an hour, today's average speed. A big day for today's race winner, the 23-year-old Florian Vermeersch of Lotto Soudal, taking his first professional victory and giving Lotto Soudal also a very important moment in this season. They've won 16 races so far this year. They really have been on form. But they need as many wins as they can get to get them out of this relegation zone that they're in at the moment as far as the World Tour licenses are concerned. That would decimate the team. We'll look out with all the wind turbines that are there. There's about 50 wind turbines in the port. They give electricity for about 100,000 people. The port trying to be as green as possible. A little marina already in there, and there's also an area for ensuring that wildlife and birds can visit the port as well. Slow motion of Florian Vermeersch, a wonderful day for him, giving the Lotto Soudal team their 16th win of the season. He waited for everyone to attack, and then he went. And once he went, there was no bringing this youngster back. That's what it means to take your first pro win. Here he is now.
Florian Vermeersch, je bent niet langer de man die tweede werd in Parijs-Roubaix, maar de man die de Antwerp Port Epic wint. Hoe voelt dat? Ja, super, ik ben super blij. Het is echt, het is bijna niet te vatten dat ik hier mijn eerste pro-overwinning pak. Dat doe enorm veel deugd.
Hoe moeilijk was het om op het einde die juiste ontsnapping te vinden, die groep met 6? Hoe moeilijk is dat om in die juiste ontsnapping te raken?
Ja, het was wel een beetje gokken, want op de meeste stroken was toch tegenwind en dan is het moeilijk om een verschil te maken. Maar ja, ergens op het tussenstuk konden we toch met een goed groepje wegrijden en zijn we tot de finish geraakt. Het was moeilijk op het einde, de laatste 3 kilometer, omdat het was veel gokken en veel demarages, maar ik heb toch de juiste move gekozen en ben daar heel tevreden mee.
Hoeveel procent geluk komt daar dan bij kijken op het einde? Of is dat echt gewoon de sterkste man die als eerste nog door de meet komt?
Goh, dat is moeilijk te zeggen. Het is wel een beetje gokken natuurlijk. Je kunt niet alles dichtrijden en met al je krachten spelen. En ik denk dat dat voor iedereen geldt, maar ja, op het einde was het denk ik dan nog vanaf de 3 kilometer een beetje man tegen man en ik ben blij dat ik het nog gehouden heb.
When you did your move at the end, when were you sure that you were going to win?
Well, I was actually sure 50 or 75 meters before the finish line because I heard my DS in my ear saying that I still had to go full. So I looked back at 75 or 50 meters to go, and then I realized that I was going to take the win. And yeah, I'm super happy with it.
Last question. One of the final corners, you took the outside of the corner. Was it a mistake?
Yeah, I never did this final, so I didn't realize that I could take the inside there. But yeah, I'm happy that didn't cost me the win today.
Okay, thank you. Proficiat Florian Vermeers.
Dank u wel.
Florian Vermeers very happy with today's victory here in Antwerp. And what a victory it was. A great attack on the run into the finish. Timed it to absolute perfection. Riding away, let everyone else do their attacks. Followed the moves he had to move with and then ran into the finish as a solo victor ahead of Gianni Vermeersch and Thibaut Nice. As we look out over the port, we're going to have the presentation in just a few moments. Let's look back at the highlights of today's race. The race was flagged off by Nico Matan, the race director, a former winner of the Ghent-Wevelgem. Very warm day today in Belgium. Few attacks, lots of crashes along the way as well, with riders in all sorts of difficulties. You've got to have your luck on your side in the Antwerp Port Epic with the cobblestones and the unpaved roads. You really have got to have everything go your own way. One of the riders who was featuring in most of the race was Jens Renders. So was Gianni Vermeersch as well, always involved in the action. The rider from the cyclocross background was intent on trying to get a group away. Eventually he managed to do that, 6 riders going clear, and on the run-in there were numerous attacks. Gianni Vermeersch launching a number of different times. Ultimately it didn't quite pay off for him, but that second place was very well deserved. Timo Kielich tried. Adrien Petit, the rider with the most victories, was always vigilant and trying to get involved. Thibaut Nice, the 19-year-old, showing just what a good bike rider he is. Ultimately, it came down to this moment, though. Thibaut Nice, Gianni Vermeersch nullifying their attacks, then another big attack by the two of them. Florian Vermeersch managed to follow it, and then when they both sat up, he just sneaked away on the right-hand side of the road. Big attack by Florian Vermeersch. Gianni Vermeersch chased him down to try and take the victory, but ultimately it was a solo win and a first pro win for the young Belgian rider. Second place, Gianni Vermeersch. Third place, Thibaut Nice. And then the rest of the group of 6 came in. Well, we're getting ready then for the presentation of today's race, but here is the result. Florian Vermeersch takes the victory out of Gianni Vermeersch, Thibaut Nice in third place. Then it was the rest of the breakaway, Renders, Petit and Kielich. And behind them, Lotto Soudal took 8th place with Arnaud Delis, just being beaten by Gerben Thiessen of the team of Intermarché Wanty Gobert. Special mention there for Milan Menton, who was in the original breakaway and still ended up in the top 10. Here's Gianni Vermeersch.
Mezelf terug herpakken, maar kwam jammer genoeg niet meer op het wiel.
Toen jullie met 2 op kop zaten met Thibaut Nys, dan is er nooit een moment geweest waarop je dacht van we rijden hier met 2 gewoon naar de finish?
Ja, Thibaut is wel snel natuurlijk. En daarachter zat ik met Timo Kilich, die ook wel, denk ik, misschien wel de snelste was in de spurt. Dus het was van mij de taak eigenlijk om proberen alleen weg te rijden. En Timo ging de spurt doen, dus dat was ons spannetje.
Terwijl je ook niet traag bent, hè? Gokken op jouw spurt was nooit een optie.
Ja, achteraf gezien misschien wel, maar kijk, ik wou hier vooral eigenlijk vandaag proberen alleen aan te komen. En ik denk dat Timo misschien wel rapper is dan mij, dus daarom hadden we die keuze gemaakt.
Gianni Vermeersch, second place today. Disappointed or happy with that second place?
Yeah, I'm disappointed because if I see the last kilometer, I came pretty close to Florian, but yeah, it was just not good enough.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
A disappointed Gianni Vermeersch. Well, he made the moves, but you wonder whether he just made one move too many. He was clearly one of the strongest riders in that group, if not the strongest rider. But sometimes you've got to have that race ability just to wait and then strike when you go with one big attack. And that's what Florian Vermeersch did today. Maybe Gianni will look back and think, yep, I was the strongest rider in the race today, because I think he really was. He's won this race before. He won it in 2020. And we're getting ready for the podium presentation. This race part of the Exterior Cup. Nice bit of patio furniture there for the riders to sit on before they appear on the stage, because Exterior is a garden company. There is Florian Vermeersch and Thibaut Nys. We're almost ready for today's presentation. There's our podium. We were treated to an absolute pleasure on the running, weren't we? Thibaut Nys, 3rd place today. We're starting to see him on the podium of big races. 19 years of age. What else is he going to win in his career? Gianni Vermeersch, 2nd place for him today. Alpecin Fenix with another podium finish. But the winner of today's race, riding for the Lotto Soudal team, 2nd in the Paris-Roubaix, winner of his first professional race. He'll remember this one forever. Winner of Antwerp Port Epic 2022, Florian Vermeersch.
En dan zijn er natuurlijk ook trofees voorzien voor de 3e plaats. Die wordt overhandigd door Katlijn van Wint-Fora. De trofee voor Thibaut Nys. Prachtige trofee. Overhandigd door Katlijn voor
And the Turbine Trophy.
Dan op de 2e plaats.
There for our 3rd place rider.
De minister van Binnenlandse Zaken. De trofee van Wind aan de Stroom. Annelies Verlinde gaat die overhandigen aan Gianni Vermeersch. En dan de schepen van Sport van Antwerpen. De heer Peter Wouters gaat de trofee van Vleemo overhandigen.
And the same for our winner today.
Vermeersch. En dan is er uiteraard ook nog nog voor alle drie een groentebox van Wind vooraan en een schaal Celsboek.
So the Wind Turbine Trophy there for our winner, Florian Vermeersch. There's our podium, our top three today.
Florian Vermeersch, 2. Gianni Vermeersch, 3. Thibaut Nys.
Thibaut Nys, Florian Vermeersch in the middle, Gianni Vermeersch, our winner today. He's going to savour this one for a while.
Prachtig podium van deze Antwerp Portepic 2022. Met Florian Vermeersch, Gianni Vermeersch en Thibaut Nys. Mooi podium. Ja, en het zijn...
There's the photo that will be seen in all the major publications over the coming days. 42.5 kilometers an hour, a very, very hard finish today. Here's the classification in the Exterior Cycling Cup. Hugo Hofstetter with 40 points, Florian Vermeersch down there in 6th place. That was the standings, I think, before the race, but Florian Vermeersch then. Flowers for the girlfriend. Lovely day here in Antwerp, absolutely beautiful. And he's going to go off for his various interviews and everything else that goes with it. Well, this famous finish straight in the port has seen some great riders win this race. This is the 5th edition and this race is growing in stature all the time. Thank you very much for joining us. We've seen Florian Vermeersch take his first professional win. From me, Anthony McCrossan. I'll join you again sometime soon. Bye for now.
Arno Deli. Nieuwe leider met de Exterior Cycling Cup trui. Gaat hij de volgende wedstrijd tegemoet gaan. De leider in dat klassement van de Exterior Cycling Cup na 5 manches. Arno Deli, dames en heren. Dan hebben we uiteraard ook een prijs voor de strijdlust. En die gaat er nu aankomen. Vandaag de meest strijdlustigste van deze Antwerp Portepic. U applaus voor de man van Sportplan de basis. Jens Reinders, dames en heren. Met de bloemen en de fles Victoria erbij. Jens Reinders, de strijdlustigste van deze Antwerp Portepic 2022.